I love supporting others in the jewelry industry, especially when it comes to something like New York City Jewelry Week. New York City Jewelry Week was started about 5 years ago as a celebration of jewelry, in particularly jewelry in New York City. And I'm excited to have my guests on the show today, JB Jones and Bella Neyman, who are the founders of New York City Jewelry Week, and Alain Simic, who is one of their supporters. So I'm super excited to dive deep into what New York City Jewelry Week is all about, what the theme is this year, and a little bit more about the Rough Cut podcast. So let's dive into this episode. I am just so excited to be here today with JB Jones, Bella Neyman, and Alain Simic. So thanks for being here, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
It'll be fun. So I met JB and Bella many years ago over email. I think my former business partner introduced us about Jewelry Week. And I wanted to have you guys come on and talk about Jewelry Week this week. And then JB and Alain have a podcast together. So we're going to dig into some really fun stuff. Now, before we kind of dive in to some of my prying questions that I have for you all, why don't you all give us like just a brief background, and we'll start with JB.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name's JB. I'm the co-founder of NYC Jewelry Week. I also do consulting on marketing and social media for small jewelry businesses, do a little bit of writing, do a little bit of everything in jewelry. We've had Jewelry Week now for 5 years. This is our 5th year anniversary, which is super exciting. And Bella and I met about eight years ago now, and we've been working together since really the moment we met, actually. So tell them about you.
Hi, I'm Bella. I'm the other co-founder of NYC Jewelry Week. And when I'm not working on Jewelry Week, which actually feels like that's all I work on, I also consult for some jewelry galleries. I help them with exhibitions and with research. And I also lecture at the 92nd Street NY and at Christie's on jewelry. I lead jewelry tours and jewelry history courses. And also I write, yes. And I do write. I write for different publications, including Metalsmith. And I don't know. Yeah. So I just kind of all the yeah.
Anything jewelry, we can cover, you guys.
Yeah, exactly. It's true.
Okay, Alain.
I'm Alain Simic. I'm a photographer. I am not a co-founder of Jewelry Week. I only show up when these two ladies tell me to show up. And then,
which is a lot. We force you to show up a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot. You're very demanding. And we have, JB and I have our silly little, dog and pony show, the official NYC Jewelry Week podcast that we co-host called Rough Cut, which is, really about, my skincare routine and how wealthy I am, honestly.
Yeah. A little bit of jewelry thrown in.
Maybe.
A lot of gossip.
Mostly that.
Yeah.
It's actually really entertaining to listen to. I started binge listening to it when I found it. I was like, oh, I didn't even know they had a podcast. And I started listening to it. I was like, they're hilarious together. It's so funny.
Thank you. Yeah. We try.
Also, Alain, though, I should mention, is on our Here We Are committee for Jewelry Week, which is a committee that supports our program Here We Are, which is the equity program that we run.
Yes.
Jewelry Week.
I do that as well.
You do. Yeah.
Okay, so how did the idea for New York City Jewelry Week came up? Because I remember hearing about it for the first time. I was like, this is interesting concept. And it was all over the city, and there were all these exhibitions and all the things. And I was like, tell me about it.
Thank you. I'm going to let Bella tell it because she tells it better. It was her idea.
No, well, so JB and I really loved working together, and we wanted to continue working together. And I think, like all true creatives, we were thinking of ways of coming up with a project that would be really ours, and also that wasn't done before, and something that would allow us to hang out and spend time together, but also to support a lot of our friends who are creatives and independent jewelry designers. And we wanted an opportunity to showcase the type of jewelry that we like to wear. That's actually really how it started. And so, the idea for Jewelry Week is not so original because it exists. There are, other models for it, predominantly in Europe. And so that's actually where I was visiting another Jewelry Week when I kind of thought, Yeah, I went to 3 that year. Yeah. I was in Paris and I went to Barcelona, and then I go to Munich for Schmuck, which is sort of like the mother of all jewelry weeks.
Oh, wow.
And I came back and I thought, why don't we have something like this in New York? Because, we keep having these conversations about how do we support the industry and blah, blah, blah. And so it took me a little bit of time to pitch it to JB.
When your friends call you and they're like, I have a really good idea, but I'm not going to tell you.
Which I hate.
That was Bella.
I love that too.
I hate that. You're like, oh, yeah, because I don't know. I thought she would hate it. Like, I thought she'd think it's really dumb. So I was trying to figure out how to pitch it to her in a way that she'd be like, oh, yeah, sure. I will dedicate my life to this for the next 5, 6, 7, God knows how many years, and, not do anything other than eat, sleep, breathe jewelry. So anyway, I pitched it to her, and she, thank God, loved it. So anyway, that's how the idea came about. It's because we really wanted to find an opportunity to support our friends in the industry.
I think too, like another part of it was we were working at a gallery in meatpacking, and we also felt like the traditional retail model was not working.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, okay, people come in sometimes, right? And we thought, and sometimes they buy jewelry, right? So we thought, how can we like turn this upside down? And that was kind of the original like impetus for our partnership. And then Jewelry Week came along, as Bella explained. So it was kind of like met all the things we wanted to do. To think about retail in a different way and get consumers excited in a different way.
Yeah. And that was the other thing, like we saw there was a real, like a need for our, for our designers, our friends to, sell their work. Like in the end, that's really what it's about. It's about like, yes, we do all of these great, panels and talks, but it's really about making sure people buy jewelry.
Yeah. So when it started, was it really a shopping event, or did it end up being more about the panels and the conversations, or how did that go? I always found it interesting that it was in November. What was the decision to do it in November for?
Well, I think so we go to a lot of design fairs, and a lot of like, pay attention to the fashion scene as well. And that was the month that nothing was happening. And we really very much wanted this to sit on its own and not be connected to design or fashion. We want jewelry to have its own moment. So that was a big part of it. And also it gave us a reason to talk jewelry for the holiday. It's a little early, but it gets that conversation started. And if you're going to custom make a piece of jewelry, start it at Jewelry Week.
And it was always that mix of retail activations and panels, because when that's, I think JB and I all connected on this as well, is that like, we would go to all these different talks where, fashion designers come together, or, like just kind of events that are sort of educational, but are really about essentially consumerism, right? When you go hear Marc Jacobs in conversation with, let's say, Fern Malice, what are they talking about? They're talking about his brand and how to get people to come and shop, right? So like, I think the educational component is really meant to give consumers insight into how the designers, like what their vision is, how do they create the pieces, because everything in Jewelry Week is about that story, like it's storytelling is really at the heart of the week. So even the retail activations, when JB and I approached designers to participate, the first question we've asked them from the very beginning is, what is the story that you want to tell? So that's why having those panels is just as important as the retail activations.
Yeah. I think too, though, your question brought up an interesting point. And like that first year, we were so supported by the industry, like especially independent designers, that's how we got known, was because the industry backed us in a way that was like so enormous. And so there was a point where we were like, okay, we got to get back to like the goal of consumerism, because that's what everyone wants from us, right? That's what all these supporters want from us. But it was like quite amazing, like turnout from the industry. And I remember on Instagram when we launched, it was everywhere. And that really like propelled us into a space that we were like, whoa, this, because we were like, oh, let's do like a few events, it'll be cool. And I think we did what, like
85
85
events.
year.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Gwen Rickenbrod Smith was in town, I think, for that first one. Do you guys know Gwen?
Yes, of course.
And she was like going to all these panels, and I'm like, I'm going to catch some of them. And I was just like, there are so many. Like, how did they organize this many in a first run? It was insane. I'm like,
yeah.
They just came out of the woodwork.
Yeah. I think people were just really excited to get behind it because, like I mentioned, this model is not new, but what is new is that we bring in all different types of jewelry. So that's what happens is, like, if you have like 5, programs dedicated to vintage or estate jewelry, and 5 or 6 programs dedicated to contemporary studio jewelry, and then let's say like 10 or 15, it just starts to build up because, so many people want New York as their arena, and so while we support New York City based brands, we have a lot of participants come from other parts of the world who, want to be on that schedule. So that's actually how it starts to grow really organically, because we invite people to participate and then people apply to participate. So then it just becomes like, wow, like even now, JB and I were discussing that there's like 130 events this year, and we couldn't believe it because we didn't think there was going to be that many. And I just had our director of operations count, and we were like, oh my God, that's insane.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So Alain, how did you get involved in this?
This is an interesting story because we don't agree on it.
Yeah, our recollections of how I got involved are very different. In that you want me to tell mine? I remember going to Jonathan Adler actually to furnish this apartment.
Yeah, it
and
looks great in here.
It's the Jonathan Adler showroom. But we went in there, and thank you. But I went in there, and you guys were hosting an event, or were about to host an event in there, and I saw a pamphlet, and then I went to your IG, and I thought, oh, this is such a great, cool organization. It's so very different from all the sort of other industry things that I was aware of at the time. And I remember thinking I would love to be a part of this, and DMing the Jewelry Week account, this is my recollection, and saying, how can I be a part of this? And then...
Well, I think I DM'd him first because I kept seeing his name everywhere. He was doing talks and classes on his own, as well as talks for other people. And I just kept seeing his name over and over again. And I said to Bella, I really want to meet this guy. It just seems really interesting. So I DM'd him. He says he did it first, but I'm going to take credit.
Yeah, who knows at this point? It doesn't matter. And we've never bothered going back far enough.
I was going to say, you can probably figure it out.
We never bothered. The mystery works for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
So then what did we do? I think we just did an Instagram Live.
We did Instagram Lives together. And then you had asked me to join the Here We Are committee. I think I had a chat with you about that, Bella, actually. Yeah. And no.
I don't remember.
I don't either. But I believe it was you who called me about that.
Maybe.
And then after some time of working together, we did a bunch of, committee stuff together. We did some photo shoots together for Jewelry Week and for the Here We Are committee specifically. And
I think we should say that Alain is so generous with his time and his skills. Like, that's kind of how we went deeper and deeper, because for our Here We Are program, we're always trying to find opportunities, and we're always trying to, get discounts or get a way in or find what we can to support the jewelers who are involved. And Alain would always call and offer things, and that's so amazing. So we kind of just developed this relationship of like, oh, what's possible, right?
Yeah.
Let's think of what's possible.
That's what I love about working with these ladies. We come up with ideas, and then sort of like we can kind of ruminate on an idea for a little while, but we always in some way, shape or fashion end up actually doing it.
Yeah.
And
now you shoot our campaigns.
Yes.
So great.
Yes. And I insist on doing it and won't let anybody else do it.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that is true. But But well, we can always sort of come together and say, hey, how about this? And then we make it happen. So that's sort of what I enjoy about working with them, in that we sort of actualize the ideas. It's not sort of just talk and kind of a haphazard thing. There's really kind of action and motivation and passion behind what they do. So I love being a part of all of that.
That's so good. I mean, you're such an amazing artist, Alain. So it's like,
oh, thank you.
Insane. Like if anyone, go check out his website. It's like incredible, the work he does.
Thank
so
you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I wanted to follow up on something that was said earlier about like designers applying and all that stuff. What does the application process look like? And like, what's the lens you guys are filtering through when you're picking and selecting designers for this?
So the application opens in the beginning of the late spring, early summer, and we have a theme every year that we would like applicants to consider when applying. This year, the theme with joy and human connection. And ideally, we are looking for individuals who really have something unique, have a really unique point of view. Look, there's a lot of jewelry out in the world, and our goal isn't, how do I say this? Our goal is it is jewelry for all, and it is all different types of jewelry, but we also don't want to show all jewelry because not all of it is great, if I can say that.
Yeah,
and
I think
so,
you say that.
And so really, we focus on designers who have a really unique point of view, those who we feel really have longevity, those who have authenticity and integrity, and those who also have a really creative concept, because that's the other thing. We are not a trade show. Our events do not happen under one roof. So if you are applying with an event, it has to be something that can stand alone, right? It's something that is going to drive visitors. And as much as we put all of our effort into promoting everything, we want to make sure that every exhibition or every talk or every pop-up, every activation is really special. So the application just really has to kind of like speak for itself, to be honest with you.
And so you mentioned that the theme is joy and human connection this year.
Mm-hmm.
How did that come about?
I think we all just were like depressed.
Yeah.
Happiness.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need happiness in the world.
Irony.
Yeah.
It's about time.
Yeah. I think also because a lot of what we were hearing was that, like, not to bring up the pandemic, but during the pandemic, a lot of, individuals would put on jewelry, with their sweatpants, and it gave them joy. Like they would look in their jewelry box and and smile, longingly or lovingly at the pieces that they used to wear. And I think that for us has been really important because we love jewelry. Like I don't know, obviously, well, you can't really see, but you can try. We're all like wearing lots of jewelry, right? And so we put it on, it really brings us pleasure. And so we wanted to sort of like capture that moment, and that's why we thought it's a great theme for this year.
I love it. So Alain, you're a fine art photographer and you've done like some beautiful, beautiful work. And I know designers, a lot of the people that we serve here at Flourish and Thrive, some of them do all their creative themselves. Some of them outsource to photographers like you, at the higher level. And, others are trying to just find their way. Like, how important do you think it is to have good photography and campaigns, like marketing campaigns with visual images, to the success of a jewelry brand?
I'm clearly going to be a very biased party when I answer this question. I think it's tremendously important, and for the obvious reasons, in that for 90% of your kind of followers, potential consumers, the only way that they're ever going to interact with your pieces before purchasing them is going to be via some sort of visual medium, right? Whether that's photography, video, whatever that case may be. And therefore kind of quality is paramount. So that's kind of the first obvious. The second obvious one is to communicate to your potential clientele professionalism, because you do want to be able to engender trust, because oftentimes, these designers that are just starting out are certainly not household names. and they certainly do not have the funds to become household names anytime soon. So they have to work extra hard to engender trust with a potential consumer, and sort of a professional presentation helps you do that. And kind of the third reason that I always belabor is storytelling. Really, the thing that beautiful sort of creative imagery does is it tells a story and helps connect you to your potential consumer in a way that you know, obviously writing copy and great branding and all of those are really important components of that storytelling. But the visual, kind of visceral impact of a fantastic photograph, there's nothing that can really quite compete with that, because it's sort of, it's instinctive, it's visceral, it's immediate, and it touches your potential demographic right away. I think that that is something that a lot of jewelers need to think long and hard about. It's part of your cost of doing business, really. I typically say to my clients, it should be treated no different than the funds you allocate to sourcing the metals and stones to produce jewelry to begin with, because it's that integral a part of trying to compete in the marketplace. Kind of what I think is really, really important about having great visuals to present your brand with is it helps you to cut through the noise of an incredibly crowded market.
Yes.
I always try to remind people that even if you're sort of a bench jeweler, right, and you're doing everything on your own, and you don't think of yourself as necessarily a luxury goods company, you are ultimately, selling a luxury good, whether that's at $100 price point or at $100,000 price point,
right?
Because you're not selling socks. So
yes.
You have to, when I don't know who you are, convince me that, you're worth the money you're asking me for this particular product.
Yeah.
And in luxury, imagery is everything. And people attach themselves very much to brands and to certain visuals, and they identify with them. So it's all paramount to any brand. I'm always baffled when I meet sort of young jewelers entering the market who don't seem to have a great sense of that, because it tells me that they're not quite aware of the actual market that they're entering, sort of what the actual arena is, which is ultimately a luxury space.
Yeah. So if someone doesn't have the funds to invest in someone like you to do their photographs, what do you recommend for them to try to get some great shots just in the early stages?
So I usually say to people, if there's any way you can allocate your money in the beginning, and if you're kind of really strapped for funds, just make sure that you're investing in great product photography first and foremost. Maybe you can't afford to do all the creative work just yet, at least not executed at a really high level to make it sort of worth the investment. At least make sure that you have really fabulous product photography that is sort of up to industry standards. That is the best way to sort of allocate those early funds, because those images are going to be really evergreen, and they're going to serve many different functions. And they're going to be used, by press, by PR, by everybody's going to sort of demand a great product shot of your work. And you really want to invest in that, because that is also going to be your sales pitch to your customer as well in the beginning. Sort of pretty much the most important one if you don't have kind of all of the other trappings of a luxury goods company, right? So that is usually what I advise people to do. A shameless plug, I do teach a still life course.
Take his class.
Yeah, I do teach a few times a year. I teach a creative still life course where we kind of show people some tips and tricks on how to do their own kind of still life photography, oftentimes using nothing but an iPhone. And we teach them light shaping tools and that sort of thing, just to enhance what they're already doing, maybe for their Instagram feeds. Mm-hmm. But I always, give them the disclaimer of none of that replaces, professional work. Yes. It's really meant for something like Instagram. It's really meant to kind of just help you supplement content that you're going to need to put out regularly.
So much content, yeah.
Yeah, but none of it is going to replace sort of having a proper professional, campaign of any sorts.
I mean, you're only 16, so how did you get into this?
Well, I was 12 when I started my business.
Skyrocketed.
And then it just exploded. I was sort of in a roundabout way. I was actually a photojournalist when I first left university, and I worked on human interest stories about women and children in post-conflict zones.
Wow.
I used to spend months at a time in India and in Nepal doing photo essays precisely on that subject matter. Then I did my very last story in Sarajevo in my native Bosnia, where my family had lived through the war. And after I did that photo essay, something very much within me shifted. And I found it very, very difficult to do that work.
Wow.
It felt very hard to, I don't know, it felt very hard for me at the time to not feel like the work was not inherently somehow exploitative. And that's a whole, different conversation. And you can get into the nitty-gritty of that. And I have a lot of peers who would strongly disagree with me, which is completely fair. So that happened. I started working for Steve McCurry, who's a very well-known photojournalist here in the city. And when I started working for him, I realized that most of his work, or the way that he kind of supplemented his, lifestyle in his studio and supported his staff, was via commercial work. And so he shot the Pirelli calendar. He discovered Carly Kloss, and I worked for him at the time when he shot that Pirelli calendar. He also shot campaigns for Valentino. While I worked for him, we actually shot the backdrops to Windows OS X or OS 10, whatever that was. I don't know. It was New Zealand landscapes, whatever, computer stuff. I don't know. So I learned a lot about commercial photography there. And then eventually I started my own business. And I got very lucky in that early on in my business, I landed some larger, sort of more well-known clientele. I got images published in Harper's, and then my business just sort of skyrocketed from there, and it's going strong still. I'm very, very lucky.
Good job.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And
hard worker.
Yeah. And well, I work every single day. That's all I know to do.
Every single day, 7 days a week?
7 days a week, every single day. That's all I do.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I want to bring this back to Jewelry Week to talk about, like, what are some of the exhibitions that you're most excited about for this round?
Oh, well.
Kind of shaking her head.
There's a lot to process there, but let me start
There's
with
a lot. I was looking at that calendar.
Bella curated
I looked at it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, you did. So yeah, Bella curated a show. Is it on the website yet? I don't know.
And it should
will
be
be.
in an hour. As soon as I leave here. Yeah. I dislike that question, and I'll tell you why. Well, the reason I do, I mean, that is definitely the most popular question. That's the question everybody always asks us. But the reason I dislike that question is because it's really hard to talk about all of the programs, because one, there are so many, and I always feel terrible if I leave something out, because it's, but also because the week, we are so intent on having all different types of jewelry represented. I always hate sort of talking about a project that somebody may not be interested in, because let's say they don't like costume jewelry and I'm excited about it, right? Or like they don't like studio jewelry, but that's what I want to see, So I always say, like, the point of Jewelry Week is for you to discover something for yourself. So I think it's better for you just to go on to the website and look at the schedule and find the things that you're excited about versus me telling you what I'm excited about. Because it also changes on the daily.
Can I tell you what I'm excited
about?
Yes,
please. That I want to know.
I'm really excited about our very first live show, live recording of Rough Cut on Saturday, November 19th at 3 p.m. at Industry City. That is...
Are you going to be interviewing people as they're walking by, or you're going to have just...
We're going to be doing an episode in front of an audience, and we have no idea how that's going to shake out.
I think, we haven't planned it yet. Let's be honest.
Yeah, there's no plan.
I think we'll invite people up. Yeah,
maybe. We'll see. We'll see how it shakes out.
We'll look at them and size them up and see if we'll agree with what they say, or if they'll throw us under a bus, and then we won't.
But to Bella's point, I totally understand where you're coming from, because I keep getting clients of mine who are asking me, which events are you going to go to? What should I go to? And I was looking at the calendar with one client recently, and I said, every one of them, because they're all different and they're all very representative of very different kinds of work. There's a fabulous antique show. There's this, there's that. I mean, there's so many different
Mhm.
things. So I can't answer that question either. And I always say to my clients, like, go to like as many as you can, because they're all going to be very, very different.
And also go to something that you don't know. Like, I think we always, you sort of look at the calendar and you're like, oh, I know this person or that person, or I want to see. But actually use this as an opportunity to go see something that you may not be familiar with. Like, use this, to learn about maybe some great, I don't know, mid-century jeweler, or maybe some awesome, contemporary jeweler you've never heard of, or, go see a talk. I mean, I don't know, but kind of go out of your comfort zone. Because I think that's the other thing that this, look, you can absolutely Google, curbling bracelets and find something, right? Like online. But the point of Jewelry Week is for you to go in person and look at jewelry and try it on. Or virtually. Yes. So that's the other thing. Virtual is a huge part of this year's program, as it was the last 2 years, but we are still virtual. So yes, if you can be here, go to our YouTube channel, because we have an incredible roster of virtual programs as well. Actually, the majority of our talks are actually virtual. But yes, but if you are in New York,
that's good for it's good for you.
Yeah, come and
And we also do a program on Instagram every year. This is this is our third year of doing programming on Instagram as well. So we usually have some really interesting interviews on there. And this year's theme for that is obsession. So it's going to be pretty good.
Sexy. Yeah.
I love it. Okay, let's talk about your podcast. How'd that come about?
Yeah, we have a podcast. I was by accident, I think. Well, it was Alain's idea. I just am the one who executes things.
I refuse to take any credit for that.
Well, so we were doing Instagram lives, and Alain called me and was like, we should do a podcast. And I was like, yeah, cool. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then he was like, no, really, we should do it.
Yeah.
And then we said, all right, we're going to go into the studio. I don't even think I told Bella that we were testing it, because I was so like, will this
I love hearing that now from you. Yeah. That was sort of your...
Well, also nervous, like, because I also am the one in Jewelry Week who's like, oh, I have this idea, this great idea. And 9 times out of 10, it's not a great idea. And so Bella's always like, we can't do more stuff. And I'm like, sure, we can. So that was also another reason I was like, if this works out, because we could have been terrible.
Oh, it could have been awful.
It could have been really terrible.
It probably still
is. But it wasn't. So we went into, maybe it is.
Yeah, I think
so
it
we
is.
went to the studio and we did one. And then,
which was like a test.
It was a test.
And then I got really pushy and I said, I think this is really fun. You should we need to just put it out.
And I didn't agree.
Yeah, she disagreed strongly.
I had a dinner party at Bella's and I made everyone listen to it. And then I made everybody not listen to the rest of it.
Well, that was actually the other thing. She was like, okay, so we have the first episode. And I was like, okay, great. And that was it. And I was like, well, are you going to send it? Like, am I gonna listen to
nervous. I don't remember, compared to how racy we are now. Whatever we said then was
it was so not racy. We're much racier now than we were then. And I remember JB had rung me up on like a Saturday and said, no, we cannot put this out. And I said, we're putting it out. And so we had a whole fight over the phone about it. Yeah, we did. And then we put it out. And it was a huge success from episode 1. And we were both sort of baffled by that. Yeah. And it's just been growing and growing and growing ever since. And it's kind of astonishing. So, but because that first one was successful, we thought like, oh shit, I feel like now we kind of have to keep doing this, right?
Right. And then Bella's been a guest on it. And ever since she was a guest, that episode I think is still number 1 episode.
No, they're lying.
No, it's true. It's actually true.
It's true.
Yours and Emmanuel Tarpan's the most successful.
It's behind you though.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You've beat him.
But
very
I really
good.
want Bella to do one, and I'll just mention that here for the whole world to hear.
Well, we talked
So
about
if you
that, didn't we?
agree-
We said that we want eventually a whole network of shows under the Jewelry Week umbrella, and that Bella needs to host her own
needs to do
show,
her
and
own
that we need to
show.
get other people involved to host their own shows under that sort of umbrella.
Yeah, well, so Bella's she's a writer, as we've established, and a curator and a teacher, and she just is so good at storytelling. So I just like,
And you don't have to do it every
no.
week. You do like once a
You'd be
month.
so good.
It would be great.
So here's what I really actually love, like about Jewelry Week and about all the people that are involved, is that it's so rarely, or so I say, it so rarely happens that somebody's like, I want to do this. I'm going to go out and do it. Because I think when you work in a corporate environment, there's always somebody above you that's going to be like, nah.
Yeah.
And here, I think because we are all independent,
Mhm.
and because also we clearly have a problem with work-life boundaries, we're basically like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
I don't care if it pays me. I don't care if it's going to kill me. I don't care if I don't see my family and friends.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do this thing. And then you do. And so I'm just like sitting here listening to like Alain talk about like his business and, you know, what I know obviously of the way we run Jewelry Week. And I'm like, wow, I'm actually really proud and just like in awe of just people like wanting to do the thing and then doing it. And I know that's kind of what we talked about when I was a guest on the podcast, but I mean, it's really true. I think for the creative industry as a whole and for, you know, jewelers that you work with a lot. I mean, it's really like somebody's vision that they execute. It's kind of amazing. So
Yeah, it's sort of daunting when you really think about it, because I don't know how you two do what you do every year with Jewelry Week. I don't know how we find the time to do the show. I honestly, I don't know where that time comes from, because it does constantly feel like we're stealing time from somewhere. I work, like I said earlier, I work every single day of the week. I don't know how I show up to do the show.
Yeah.
But thank God I have a partner like JB, who frankly, she does like most of the actual outlining and like work for the show. And I kind of just show up and I complain about the temperature, really.
He does a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, I do other things. Yeah, I wear like an outfit.
But he also names all the episodes.
I do
Oh,
name
do you?
Yeah,
Yeah, the
that's
names are
me.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why this is
it's racy.
I know, it's like, well, the next episode is going to be called Sapphic Yearning.
What?
Yes.
We don't even know what it's about.
Yeah, I have no idea what it's about, but it's going to be called Sapphic
But you
Yearning.
don't have a guess? You just know that that's going to be the title? Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So yeah, that's that.
See?
There
Yeah.
you go.
So anyway, if that didn't tell everyone listening that this show is hilarious and fun and entertaining and also around amazing topics around the jewelry industry, then go listen to their podcast.
Thank you.
The Rough Cut. Do you have any, what episodes do you have coming up besides Sapphic Yearning, which I don't even know what that means.
Well, we've got an amazing one coming out with the owner of Foundry, Beth, who is an incredible human being, and hers is going to drop on the 14th of November. Our next one coming out will be featuring Anna Barrio from Barrio Neal, and we had a fabulous chat with her, so which is coming out the Monday after this one. And then we've got one with Emily Vesterland again, who is a super fun kind of our makeshift third co-host, because we've had her on twice now, and she is hysterical and witty and really, really fun to banter with. I think we spent most of that time during that episode actually talking about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and Erica Jane, and sort of her criminal activities.
We're gonna do a gripe episode at the end of the year.
What is that?
Yes. Yeah.
It's us just complaining.
Wait, hold on.
Just scribes.
I thought it was someone's phone, but
That was the weirdest thing. Music just started randomly playing on my computer.
We make the music play.
yeah.
We do.
I thought it was like the Oscars where you were like, okay, and we're
I know my guys to shut up and get us off the.
I have no
recording.
idea what
Never
just
mind.
happened, you guys. That was
She's like,
the
okay, this is
weirdest
really long. Play the music. Get them off.
thing. Cue the music. We're going overtime.
Yeah. But well, yeah, we're
What were
gonna
you
have a
saying?
gripes
Because I want to
episode.
capture what you said. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
So we're
cool.
going to have a gripes episode where we just sort of complain and bitch the whole time about
Which
it.
was how we started.
That's how we started,
That's
just
the first
complaining.
episode.
And then we're going to have like a little bit of a holiday special episode as well. We always have very ambitious ideas for the show. How many of them actually happen, we'll see. But that's sort of the plot for now. But we always have amazing guests. And we just had on Jennifer Gandia as well, and she was an incredible guest. That episode is called, what is that episode called?
Glamour Magic.
Glamour Magic.
Ooh.
I should know this. I named it.
Can I ask you guys a question? So do you guys
Conclusive.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not a professional like you are, so do you find now that how many episodes have you done?
You should pitch us some ideas.
Yeah, you can pitch us ideas.
No, but how many?
About 20 we've done so far.
Oh my God. Okay. So do you find now, like when you're approaching guests, are you having an easier time them saying yes?
They approach us.
They approach you. Okay, that's awesome.
great.
No, I ask because that
Yeah.
like with Jewelry Week, it's like, like the more you do something, people then like start to recognize that it's a thing. So like, is it easier now?
At first, we would email people. Being connected to Jewelry Week always is a huge help because otherwise I don't know who would approach us. But in the beginning, it was a bit harder to get people to respond. But now literally we get emails from people who really want to be on a show.
That's
And not just anyone, we get emails from like really big people.
really famous people that
Who are like, can I be on your show? And we're like, I don't know.
Hey, when we turn off the mics, I want to know who you've turned down.
We've turned down so many people.
So many people.
So
I want to
many
know.
Oh.
Wait, can we also do another plug that we need a sponsor for the podcast? Are we allowed?
We
to
need
plug?
sponsors for the podcast.
Yeah,
We've
great.
gotten some sponsorship for the podcast already. We're really working hard on ramping it up.
Start slow too. If you're a jeweler and you just want to be represented.
We're very generous about.
Just on Tracy's podcast.
No, it's fine. No, it's all good. Who is the perfect sponsor that you're seeking?
Anybody who wants to give me their money.
I think our audience is independent jewelers, which is pretty great for Jewelry Week. This is we are so consumer focused, and this is like the outlet for jewelers. This is like our first sort of like foray into supporting that community. We've done stuff in the past at Jewelry Week, but this is like the first time we've really like tried to dig in and have a conversation about the industry. We talk about the industry. I don't know, we know that much, but we talk about it.
That's debatable.
But yeah, I guess anyone who wants to reach them, eBay is one of our big sponsors for Jewelry Week, and they'll be joining us on the podcast this year.
Amazing.
Which will be great. I think that's a really cool opportunity.
Yeah.
To talk about what they do and how they support.
Anybody who caters to jewelers in some capacity is a great sponsor because that is our audience. So if you're even a production facility of some sort, or anybody who does work for independent jewelers of any kind, that's our audience. So that's where kind of the sponsorship would be most ideally targeted. Yeah,
and also that you don't mind all the things we say.
Yeah, we do. We had to cut like 15 minutes of lesbicious conversation from the last episode.
Yeah,
it got very racy. It got very lesbian. And then people were still offended by the use of the word lesbian on that episode, which was bizarre. But anyway, that's why the next one is going to be called Sapphic Yearning. It's really just to piss those people off.
Oh my gosh. Well, if you want to be entertained, make sure that you go listen to New York City Jewelry Week Rough Cut. Am I saying the name of the podcast correctly?
That is right. The Rough Cut.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. All right. So thank you guys for being here today. Where can everyone find you? And well, first, before I ask that question, tell us the dates for New York City Jewelry Week again.
It's November 14th through the 20th.
November 14th through the 20th. And they can watch it. If they can't make it to New York, they can stream it.
Yeah, on our YouTube, or they can join us on Instagram Live.
Yeah. And you can, awesome. So our website's nycjewelryweek.com. You can join our mailing list there, which is the best way to know everything that happens. And our Instagram is at NYC Jewelry Week. And I'll let Alain plug his own website.
Yeah, my website is just my name, AlainSimic.com, and same goes for my Instagram. And also, again, Rough Cut live show November 19th, Saturday, 3 p.m. Industry
At
City.
New York City Jewelry Week headquarters.
At
That
New York
sounds
City Jewelry
amazing.
headquarters. It's fabulous space. It's going to be a fabulous show. We're going to have live audience. I hope.
Yeah, there's exhibitions on view, and there's a really. Do you want to talk about what's happening?
Yeah, so we're really excited. We haven't had a headquarters space since 2019, and this space is going to be not only for exhibitions for independent designers, but also different organizations like the Society of North American Goldsmiths are showing there. But we're also going to do some great talks. We have a talk with Victoria Gamelski on AI in the jewelry industry, and then also a talk with Vicky Toback, who just published a book on hip hop bling, Ice Cold, with Toshin. Yeah, so Vicky will be joining us with 2 jewelers who are in the book, and then
Bert is one of them.
yes, we haven't announced it yet, but yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, it's
I'm
fine.
excited, people.
We are so super excited, and then we'll also have talks on Sunday. So both Saturday and Sunday actually will have talks, and it's going to be great.
So we'll be there 2 days.
Yeah, and if that isn't enticing enough,
well, show up
podcast, listen to that. And if that isn't enticing enough, I plan on wearing very, very skimpy clothes in live show.
Oh,
It's November. It might be
I
cold.
know it's winter.
Well,
Like, that hasn't stopped me before.
That's never stopped me
No.
before. Yeah, just ask
Oh
any
my
of my
gosh.
exes.
This is hilarious. This has been such a fun interview. I want to have you guys on again. How about we do a
Anytime.
recap after,
Okay.
and you can share with us like
That would be
Yeah.
brilliant.
big takeaways.
Okay,
Absolutely.
that sounds
sounds
good.
great.
Great.
Thank you. Yeah,
that
we'd
sounds
love
brilliant. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to the show today. This is Tracy Matthews signing off for now. If you haven't done so, make sure that you pick up chapter 1 of my book for free. The desired brand effects stand out in a saturated market with a timeless jewelry brand. I would love for you to grab it. Let me know what you think. And if you enjoy it, make sure you pick up the full copy over at desiredbrandeffect.com. Thank you so much for watching the show today. Chat soon.